Are you looking for a company that checks all the boxes? Waldorf Essentials provides homeschool curriculum written by homeschoolers for homeschoolers. We provide many options from digital to hard copies and individual blocks. Visit waldorfessentials.com.
Welcome to the Waldorf Essentials podcast. I'm Melissa Nielsen, and today I'm excited to talk about this idea about coming late. Are you ever late? And then also sort of like, should you switch? Like maybe you are a homeschooler that's using a more mainstream curriculum or a non-Waldorf curriculum, and you're wondering like, should I switch? Like, what should I do with regards to where I want to go with this? So this question actually came in from a listener. So if you have ever have things that you want me to answer, please send us your questions. We're always happy to add them into a podcast or make a reel about them. We have talked about this topic a bit before, this idea of coming late to Waldorf, but it's been quite a few years, I think, since we've done that. So we'll link the other episodes down below this podcast so that you have an opportunity to listen to those as well. But then we're also going to just dive in today and see what I have to say in 2025 about this topic. So anyways, let's get started with first, I also wanted to say this is a two-parter. So this first part, we will be doing, it's for the public for free. And then there will be a second part where we'll go more in depth and talk about specifics when it comes to what to sort of keep in mind for each grade for your child. And that's a great spot if you are looking for just more depth than what you're going to get here in this first part. But let's go ahead and start with the question of like, what is Waldorf, and really what is Waldorf specifically at home? The school setting is a little bit different than the home setting in that in the school you have got an art teacher. Usually you have a games teacher that does a lot of the outdoor movement. You have a eurythmy teacher, you have your main lesson teacher, you have sometimes a language teacher. So you have all of these other components in a school setting, and at home it's you. And so when it comes to that, we really want to look at sort of the economy of education and how you can bring these pieces to your child in a whole way, sort of the way that Steiner intended it. So often people don't realize Steiner was a homeschooler. He schooled the children that he of his wife that he married. He also schooled other and tutored other children throughout his career. So a lot of the content that we have is easy to then apply to the home. We just have to sort of think about it a little bit differently. And I know there would be plenty of Waldorf teachers that would disagree with me, and that's okay. I'm a big girl. You are welcome to disagree with me. This comes from the 20 plus years that I have in Waldorf education, in teaching at home, that for the vast majority of those years, in teaching in cottage school settings and in some other classroom settings, in teaching in co-op settings. So I have quite a bit of background when it comes to teaching Waldorf, and I really am very biased when it comes to teaching Waldorf at home. I absolutely believe that it can be done, and I absolutely believe that it can be done beautifully, often more beautifully than in the classroom. And again, don't throw rocks at me, but that is just from, like I said, my many years of experience. We can bring our children something that somebody else that we may not know very well can bring them. It requires us to also deal with our own challenges. And we cover that in our courses and sort of how to work through all of the ish that we have as being moms so that we can bring this in a beautiful way. So if that's something that you've got questions about or you're interested in, check out some of our courses, drop us an email. We're happy to sort of point you in the right direction because, homeschooling, and I would say specifically homeschooling with Waldorf, is so beautiful, but it also will show you all of the challenges that you have as a human. And we want to sort of help you work through those because it's really not about getting rid of our darkness. It's about sort of embracing and sorting through the pieces that make up that darkness. And so this is really an opportunity for inner work and growth for you as well. Now you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. Stick with me. let's get down and talk about this. So again, like what is Waldorf specifically at home? So Waldorf is a method that focuses on a child's whole development. So by talking about that, I think it's easy if we look at some other methods and then you can easily see like what I mean. So other methods will focus mainly on the intellect, and perhaps some of them will focus on the feeling development through reading good books and good works and things like that. But in Waldorf, we are looking at the whole child, not just the head, not just that intellect part. So the head is definitely considered, of course. That's like the purpose of school, right? To uh well, it shouldn't necessarily just be this, but it's to also to train the intellect and to teach a child. And really in Waldorf, we see it much more where other methods are looking at a sponge that is filled up, like the child is this blank sponge and it soaks up water. In Waldorf, we are looking more at the fact that the child already has these capacities within them. So they are like a vessel, and we are drawing out that content at the right developmental time. So when we're doing that and we're bringing it at the proper time, we're bringing the academics as they are developmentally appropriate for the child, then there is something very beautiful that happens. There's an enlivening that happens. It also makes your job a whole lot easier. It's a lot easier to teach a child that is developmentally ready for something than it is to try to teach them when they are not. Trust me. Trust me. I have seen it. I have watched it, and it is much harder to bring concepts when a child is not intellectually ready than it is when they're ready. So, and the other thing in Waldorf, we definitely are looking at the heart piece, that piece of educating those feelings, looking at them through good books and through stories and the cultures of other people, not just looking at, say, a culture from the outside, what did they wear, where did they live, but like from the inside, what did they believe, what were their stories, what things were important to them, so that we can truly help children be in the space of being of this world, but not worldly, and understanding their neighbor. We really want them to understand people that are different than them and to be interested in, oh, that person is different. Why are they different? What makes them different? We want those questions. We want that sort of investigative piece that comes naturally when you bring this to children at the proper time. Also in Waldorf, we are really looking at developing the hands. So we have the head, the intellect, the heart, the feeling place, and the hands. This is this willing place. And so often people see that as just, oh, well, Waldorf does handwork and handicrafts. And that's not necessarily the only place. You're looking at like developing the will in many ways. And in Waldorf, yes, we might do that through handwork, but we're also doing that through painting, through drawing, through modeling with clay, through like understanding the space of what our hands actually do, and really being able to utilize our hands to bring forth the service of others as well. So, and keeping in mind again that this is done through developmentally appropriate content and activities brought at the right developmental age. And we have actually a copy of the Waldorf curriculum chart on our resources page. There'll be a link down below if that's something you're interested in, like what does that mean? What content? When? So that chart will help demystify how we lay things out, kind of the scope and sequence for Waldorf, and it will help you with that basic information. And that information is true across the board with regards to Waldorf. You are always going to have, say, the human being and the animal block in class 4. Doesn't matter if you're using our Waldorf Essentials curriculum, if you're using somebody else's homeschool curriculum, or if you're in a Waldorf school. There are hallmarks that are made for each class, each grade. So keep that in mind sort of as you're looking at Waldorf in that regard. At home, Waldorf can feel a little bit intimidating because we are the painting teacher, we are the art teacher, we are the eurythmy teacher, we are the movement, we are the language teacher, we're all of those things, and it can be like, oh no, like I don't feel qualified for this, I don't feel like I can do it, but I actually think it is much easier than you think. So, if you have not followed me for any length of time, I'm just going to tell you, I'm a mother of 5 children, 5 children that have gone through Waldorf. And, that's what I do. I train people how to do this, how to bring this in an economical way so that it's not too hard. And yes, there is work involved, but there is work involved in anything that is worthy of doing. So as we're on this path of helping you to teach your child head, heart, and hands, we're also educating you head, heart, and hands. So you're not just bringing workbooks, in many other methods, you're using a workbook or something that is really dead. And there are no workbooks in Waldorf, especially in those lower grades. We have some math worksheets in the older grades, but it's still very encouraged that you are bringing things in a very whole way. So workbooks aren't necessary. They're not necessary for language arts. They're not necessary for any reading. They're not necessary for math. That this is all a space that we are bringing it again. We're pulling it out of the child when they're ready, and we are bringing them the content at the right time. And that can be a very beautiful space. The time and care that is taken when a child takes the time to put their art, their work in a main lesson book versus a workbook, it changes the feel of everything. It changes how you feel about school. It changes how they feel about school. And it can be a very beautiful space. So that's the workbook and come to Waldorf. Now, I want to talk about coming later. So maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I have really been wanting to come to Waldorf, but my child is in 3rd grade or my child is in 2nd or 4th grade or what have you. So in this next part, I'm going to, sort of give an overview on what things you should think about, uh, like catching up, but I really don't like that term because you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Even if you come into Waldorf in 11th grade, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You want to accept where you are, accept the path that you've been on, and accept that, hey, now like I know better, I know different, I know that I can educate my child fully. So I'm going to choose this path now. So don't be hard on yourself for what you didn't have and what you didn't know. Be happy and joyful about the space that you are in now. So again, what should we catch up? Overall, I would say you want to look at handwork, starting with knitting, form drawing from the beginning, and that's one that your child might say, oh, these are so easy. So when we generally do form drawing, we do about one a week. When we are catching up form drawing, we start from the very beginning, which is just the straight line and the curve. And we go through all of the forms until you get your child caught up to where they are. Now, you're doing way more than one a week in that regard. You are doing, you could spend a day where you're doing a few of them in a day, and then maybe give it a rest from the next week. And we're not looking for perfection here. So the process with regards to form drawing is just as important, if not more important, than the actual product. So the fact that your child has worked through making that wavy line or worked through making that ocean appearing form, that is the medicine. That is the medicine. And I often have families that say, oh, I just skip form drawing. I don't have time to do it. Don't skip form drawing. Form drawing is the foundation for many things. So one of those things is good handwriting. So if you've got a child that's really struggling with handwriting, form drawing is the answer. All through my parenting with Waldorf, when I've had kids turn in a paper and I look at it and I'm like, oh, I can't even read this, then I usually will say, and this is for an older child, would you like to take this back and try again? Or should we spend the next week and do some form drawing? And they're like, oh no, mom, I'll take it. I'll fix it, because that form drawing is it's sort of that elixir that helps that form come in beautifully. So you'll know as you're looking at your child's work whether or not they need more forms. And usually form drawing kind of stops in about 5th grade as we move into a free-handed geometry space and then into an exact geometry space. But I always like to keep some kind of form flowing because it keeps their wrists moving and it keeps them really in a space where their handwork is, or their handwriting is beautiful. So again, you'll want to do form drawing from the beginning. if you are buying one of our curriculum in the courses section, that comes with every curriculum, we have that form drawing from the beginning, so you can start at the beginning and walk all the way through. Overall, you want to look at the overall art skills as well. So if you have a child that is under 9, so under 3rd grade, maybe you come to Waldorf in 2nd grade or just in 3rd grade, I do recommend working on block grand drawing. I do think it can be helpful. Like form drawing, one of those hallmarks that you're doing here is you're helping them to sort of see space on a page. So you'll notice in Waldorf, there's always a background. So that comes from the fact that when we look at the sky, or if I look at my surroundings outside this window, yes, I see trees and bushes, but I also see the sky in the background. It's not just a line of crayon. So we are constantly helping them to see the fullness of things. And sometimes that is a little frustrating for children that have not been developing their will. That drawing, form drawing, painting, modeling, all of those pieces they're all part of that willing space. So if you have a child that's not been in there and you jump into Waldorf and you think, oh, this could be great. My kid loves to draw. And your kid's like, I hate this. You have to sort of back up, slow down, and come back to those beginning places. And in those beginning places with things like block crayon drawing, especially for the child that is 9 and under, I think it is super important to like start at the beginning with those pieces. And I really like using just the 3 colors for block crayon drawing, especially in the beginning, because it adds another layer of will development there. You're using those 3 primary colors and you're creating those secondary colors. And that is something that they are doing in 1st grade. So there will be a little less, especially if you've got a 9-year-old, a little less of the, oh, wow, that's really awesome. But you should have some of that awe and wow that comes just from understanding, okay, wait, what happens when I take yellow and put blue on it? And how does it look different than when I take blue and put yellow on it? And so that's a space of exploration for them. And we really want to make sure that they have that as they're sort of walking forward in their artistic career with regards to the Waldorf curriculum. If you've got a child that's over 9, so say you're coming to Waldorf, you've got a 10 or 11-year-old, and if they are acting like they are allergic to drawing, then definitely I would look at some YouTube videos or look at an art class, like a beginning art class. That's going to be more exact drawing, and that's kind of where you're going after those early grades. So for 2nd and 3rd is a lot of block crayon drawing, and it starts to shift a little bit towards the end of 3rd grade and into 4th grade and into more exact drawing. And so while we're doing that and teaching that, organically, because they've moved through this space, if you have a child that's coming that's a little bit older and they're struggling with drawing, I highly recommend, like I said, YouTube videos are great. I just type in how to draw an alligator, how to draw, and you'll get a bunch of videos. I don't go for the cartoony ones. I go for the actual artist ones so that your child can walk through with the artist. And again, if you can go to a class, that is even better. And sort of helping them to understand how to create good form when it comes on the paper or comes to the paper. I would say painting wise, though, I would still look at Waldorf wet on wet watercolor that we do from the beginning in kindergarten and 1st grade. And you in the school setting, we use really big paper, but at home you could use smaller paper and do some of those exercises anyway. We do have those in our training program as well, because we want you to have that fullness of sort of understanding where you should be going with this. As they get older, the paintbrush goes from being big 1-inch paintbrush to a smaller paintbrush, and their paper gets smaller as well. So they're doing more detailed work then, but we can't start that if they've not had any foundation there. So I highly recommend sort of starting slowly and going through there as well. So, I would say if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have so much to catch up on, take your time. Do not feel like you have to jump in and do everything at once. I highly recommend coming to our Planning for Peace calls We offer those all throughout the year. We start them in April. We start them in April for the next school year, so you have plenty of time to plan. We want you to have plenty of time to plan. But if you're listening to this and it's July and you're like, well, I just decided yesterday that we were going to do Waldorf, you still have time. Just want to make sure that you slow down and come to office hours and ask me directly so that we can have a conversation on what you should tackle first. Because that's really helpful in knowing what part of the elephant to eat first. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Feeling overwhelmed is a waste of your time. Repeat after me. Feeling overwhelmed is a waste of my time. So if you've gotten to that space where you feel overwhelmed, close your computer, walk away, take a deep breath, stand in the sun, come back and pick one thing to start with. And that might be emailing us or messaging us and saying, okay, this is where I'm at with my child. Where should I go next? Because it absolutely can be done. We are here to support you. That is what we do. That is our greatest joy, is to bring you content and to help you to have content to bring your families so that you feel successful. Success is like what we want for you. So please don't be afraid to ask questions. We're always here to help. And if you want to listen to the next part 2, and you're not a member, then you want to hop over and join our candle membership. It's only $5 a month, and you get the second part of all of our podcasts, plus you get all of the replays for Ariel's Light. So you might want to pause this and hop over and do that, and then check us out in part 2.
At Ariel's Light, you'll find something to nourish your soul and your home. Keeping ourselves and family emotionally healthy and happy is no easy task in today's world. Join our free monthly gatherings to nurture your inner work and help you on this path to truly understanding yourself. Live gatherings are free to attend and can be found on our website. If you cannot attend live, you can listen to the replay in our Candle membership. Also in our Candle membership, you'll find full access to our longer podcasts, an archive of gatherings and podcasts from 2023. You'll also find more tools such as guided meditations. Ariel's Light doesn't stop there. We also have tools for you to deepen your connection to festivals and Waldorf education. Visit arielslight.org to start your journey today.